Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, Jordan Tuck is our guest. Now, Jordan's been on the show before, and he loves to refurbish older equipment. Well, he has done a masterful job at refurbishing a PR&E RadioMixer. This thing is gorgeous, and he gives us some of the secrets that he goes by, some of the procedures to determine what's wrong, to kind of triage the console, and to get it fixed up. So I'm eager to talk to Jordan Tuck. You'll be eager to hear from him. It's coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Air, featuring Playout One radio automation software, comprehensive streaming solutions, website content management, and social media tools for maximum listener engagement on the web at AIIR.com. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to that light bulb at the top of the tower. I got a new camera, and everything in the background is out of focus. And I guess that's desirable. The focus is on my face. Okay, well, but I can't figure out from the camera's control settings how to put that in focus, because for years, the TWiRT sign behind me has been in focus. So I don't know. Maybe not important. We'll see. Hey, welcome in. Glad you're here. Let's see. Chris Tarr apparently has the day off again. I talked to Chris earlier. He's got some exciting news that he'll share with us on a future episode, but glad that you're here, and I'm glad that our guest is here. I'm Kirk Harnack. I work for the Telos Alliance, and they are kind enough to give me a little bit of time off on Thursdays to talk to you and interview interesting people in the broadcast engineering space, specifically, typically radio broadcast engineering. Sometimes we do go a little bit afield. So welcome into the show. We've been doing the show for 16 years now, and this is our 770th episode. And big thanks to Suncast, who is our producer. He's been with us for a vast majority of these shows. So he's been our producer for years and years and years. So thanks to Suncast for that. And I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in what I call the Telos Alliance studio. Got their logo right back here. Sorry, it's out of focus, Telos, but that's the new camera. And so anyway, it's a beautiful fall day. The leaves here in Tennessee have not really started turning, not in earnest yet, but the temperature is just glorious. I walked out to the mailbox about 45 minutes ago, and it was just absolutely beautiful. All right, enough about me. I have a great interest in broadcast engineering. In fact, my colleague, Brian Jones from Telos Alliance, from the support department, Brian and I just 2 hours ago, we finished up doing a webinar for the Society of Broadcast Engineers, SBE. We did a webinar on kind of how to go from novice to ninja in terms of computer systems and IT networking. And so that was great. But I tell you what, talking for an hour and a half, that'll take a lot out of you. So that means that my guest, Jordan, is going to be doing a lot of the talking. Jordan, welcome in. It's great to see you on This Week in Radio Tech.
It's an honor to be here. I really do appreciate the opportunity once again. It's been probably a couple of years. So well, I've moved from an apartment to a home now. So
Oh, really? What part of the world are you living in these days?
I'm in Charleston, West Virginia. I'm no longer in Baton Rouge. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was living in Kenner, working in Baton Rouge. So it's a big move, big jump. But this is where I'm from. And it's good to be back home. I miss my friend Mike and my colleagues down there, but this is where home is. So,
Charleston, West Virginia. You know, people who are familiar with both Charleston, West Virginia, and Charleston, South Carolina, tend to just shorten those words to Charlie West and Charlie South.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, well, especially pilots that fly to both. That's how they talk about it. Jordan, our title today, maybe it's just a working title. Maybe sometimes we come up with a show title, depending on if somebody says something pithy that sounds like a title during the show. I love it when I get a chance to say, and we have a show title. That's a lot of fun. But we're calling it at the moment Adventures in Reincarnation. So
I like it.
You post the most interesting stuff interesting to me because I grew up using the gear that you're barely old enough to remember, and yet you are bringing it back to life. Give us a little elevator speech, a little taste of what we're going to be seeing today, Jordan.
Well, funny you mentioned that I was barely old enough to remember a lot of this stuff. This board, and in fact, this entire studio is older than I am by a few years. So I'm just going to move it manually here. Got a little laptop hooked up. So this board was given to me recently by a local radio group. Yeah. And this is what you're hearing me through. And this is my latest console restoration. I don't do as many board repairs anymore now that I'm kind of one of two main engineers here in Charleston for our radio market. And you know, it's fun that I got to do this again. I got to do board repairs and electronics repair a lot more often when I was at Mike's shop. But this was my latest adoption, and it's never had a day off since '93. So, and it didn't get to retire yet.
That looks like a PR&E console. Can you tell me exactly which one that is?
It is a RadioMixer 20, and it's not got 20 modules in it. I've spaced them out a little bit. Got 3 mic modules, 2 computers, audio playout, which is still at this radio station. I'm still loading music into it. And that'll be a Rivendell system, as far as I know, unless I switch it up last minute. And then 2 CD player inputs, which are also hopefully going to be 2 turntables if I can find 2 1200s or something like that. And then the phone channel, which right now is not a Telos module, even though I have a Telos module in the console. I don't have a Telos phone system to hook into it. It's just Bluetooth right now. So it's fun.
I hear you. Oh, that is so cool. What we're going to be doing is exploring with Jordan some of the triage that he does when he gets a console and maybe gets some spare parts. You know, where does he start? How does he decide what's going to just get shotgunned? What's going to get carefully troubleshot and replaced if it needs it? And what's just going to get cleaned to put it back together? So Jordan's going to carry us through that. Plus, we got a lot of pictures of Jordan's studio and the rebuilding process. A lot of component level pictures. So this is going to be quite an adventure, and those pictures and more are coming up. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by my friends, and they should be yours too, at AIR, AIIR, 2 I's, AIIR.com. And here's a quick little interview I did with Ricky Lee. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and I'm here with Ricky Lee, the CEO of AIR. Ricky, you guys make a fantastic automation system, but streaming is a really big deal. Tell me about streaming with AIR.
It really is. We've got a beautiful streaming platform with an incredible dashboard with fantastic analytics. And you can buy it for just $20 a month. All you can eat. No limits on bandwidth or bit rates. And you can also record shows as well. So if you like to deliver on-demand content for $20 a month, you can stream and deliver that on-demand content to an RSS feed that can feed your radio player, your mobile apps, or a podcast that people can download and enjoy.
Now, $20 a month, that must be for just some slow MP3, right?
No, MP3, AAC, and we also now support HLS, which is big in the industry right now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How do I start to explore or find out more about streaming through AIR?
You go to air.com, AIIR.com/streaming, and from there, with a credit card, you can sign up and get started.
That is such a good deal from air.com. Makers of Playout One, I can personally vouch for the efficacy of Playout One as an automation system. Love it, and we use it at all our radio stations of all different kinds of formats, even satellite news formats and of course, all the music formats, and it works great. Thank you very much, Ricky Lee. Thank you to air.com for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, we're going to jump right into it now. Let's see, I think Suncast probably has his finger ready on the photos. And Suncast, I hope they're more or less in order in the album that I supplied you. Jordan, I think our first picture is of not your studio, but a different studio. What are we looking at here, Jordan? It looks like a mess.
So that is the studio that this console and this furniture and everything that's in this room came from. I hope they're okay that I submitted that picture. I don't think they're going to care, but we'll find out. And that was probably an hour after we had pulled everything out. It was probably a solid 3 or 4 hour job. And I was sore and tired. And I had the entire hallway. You know, all the studios are lined up in a row, and there's this common hallway along them. And it was just completely filled with basically flat packed studio furniture and consoles and wiring. And it was an operation, and I will be forever grateful for the opportunity to dive through inches and inches of wiring and dust and sneezing and coughing, and ultimately ending up with my favorite studio so far. But that's the room that it was located in.
I'm curious about the interconnection technology among and between the studios. I see, of course, some conduits coming out, lots of cables coming out, laying on the floor. I'm guessing those are not Cat 5, Cat 6 cables. They look like audio and other cables like that.
It was kind of a mix and match.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Were there a bunch of punch blocks on the wall there and on the white part of the wall?
So that you talking about like to the right of the ladder, right there where it juts up a little bit?
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, if you can see me, I'm pointing at this turret right here with stuff in it. That's where this lined up.
Oh,
right there.
Gotcha.
So the punch blocks were actually down inside this cabinet. And there's a little bit of a story to why this looks a little bit different than it used to. But punch blocks weren't on the wall. They were down inside the cabinet, and there was doors that you could open up and immediately get to them. It was actually pretty cool. I didn't end up using punch blocks in this studio. Everything is discreetly wired from the source to the Molex plugs on the bottom of the console.
Yeah, so. Gotcha. All right, well, let's look at the next photo then. We change venues here. Now, tell us what we're looking at here.
So that's the room I'm currently in, and as much as I would want this whole thing to be centered in the room, it just wasn't going to work too well. And in the original installation, it was scooted over to the right anyway, so that's what I've done. And so you've got like obviously the control room position, and you could see the paint on the floor, and I was being very careful not to get paint on anything, but the walls, obviously. And then you can walk around where the fan is, and all the way back around the corner are 2 guest positions with guest turrets with, on-off controls for their microphones, a cough button, and of course headphone level control and stuff like that. So my idea with this studio is hopefully invite friends over and we'll play music, or we'll just talk and record it and send it out. I don't know if it'll be podcasting. I don't know if it'll be a continuous stream or if it'll just be shows that I upload. But this is basically the overall view, and this is before I put up any acoustic treatment in the room. And this is like the 3rd time I've painted the room, by the way. So it finally ended up being yellow. It started out kind of an off-white, and then I just slapped on this dark blue that I had picked out last minute at Lowe's because I liked the color blue, and I went way too dark, and it just felt like a dungeon in here. It made the room feel half as large as it really was. So then I had to do 2 layers of Kills primer to undo that decision. And that was my fault, not my wife's.
Yeah.
And because she's like, I'm sorry this happened. I'm like, what are you sorry for? You didn't do it. That was me. You handed me a whole array of blue colors, and I picked the darkest one. And so I undid that. And then we ended up with this yellow, which is kind of in theme with the rest of the house. We're doing like these light pastel colors, and this room is very much still unfinished. Those panels are not affixed to the wall at all, but you kind of get an idea.
When you sent me these pictures, hey, Suncast, if you could go back to the picture that you were just showing of the room. Okay. I was about to get my panties in a bunch because I'm looking at up that room, and I'm thinking, good golly, that's Echo City. That's
it's terrible without these panels.
Acoustically terrible. But my message is, fear not, everybody, because Jordan is taking care of that.
I'm certainly trying. In the first picture you showed of the V100 studio that was all disassembled, all those brown panels, I ended up getting a large number of those too. And what I'm doing is ripping off the old cloth material and putting on new. And we went crazy with the choice, and we picked super bright orange because I like the JBL logo, so it's the same color as the JBL orange logo.
Oh, okay.
I still need to iron this one. It's got wrinkles and stuff in it, but we'll get there.
Cool.
That might even change. It might be a different color by the time I'm done. Who knows?
Let's move on to some more pictures and see what we have here. We want some video. Okay. What are we looking at here?
Yep. Meters are moving.
This is after the rebuild, right?
Yeah, that movie video, whatever you want to call it, I took that I think yesterday or the day before. I was playing an obscure 80s song, and I don't know if I think I did post that on Facebook. When was the last time you heard this song or whatever? I do that occasionally just because I like to show off, meters wiggling around. But that's the console in operation.
A lot of people like those meters, like the ballistics of them. I grew up on autogram consoles with the larger VU meters and their ballistic characteristics. That's just very pleasing to my eye because it matches up with the ear. But there you go. That's
here's a spare meter.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we can make up the brand name of it.
SciFam. Yes, a SciFam movement, right?
Yeah, good stuff. Absolutely.
Okay.
Premium product. I think you can still buy that meter, but it's not cheap.
What's
the autogram consoles?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Those used, I think those were API meters, and they're huge. They're at least got an inch on these things.
Yeah, they were big. You see them across the room with
they're
no problem. And okay, here we go. What's this?
There it was when it was assembled.
Oh,
still on the air at that point.
Yeah.
So if you look, you could see how where the phone is sitting on the corner of the desk. That part of the desk has like an angled rack, and that's where the mic processors were. And the other side is this long, continuous countertop space. And down inside there, you can just make it out behind the office chair. There's doors. There's pull-out shelves, and then there's doors. And then underneath those pull-out shelves is where the punch blocks and stuff were. And what I ended up doing is, because my room's not anywhere near as big as that one, and I don't really have a need for that much countertop space with no racks in it, I actually took two of these studios. They were mirror imaged from each other. You can almost make it through the window over there. There's a little intermediate studio, and then way down there where the lights are on, at the end of the tunnel down there, you can actually see, you can't see from that picture, but it was a completely mirror image studio. Everything was the same. And I actually took the two angled pieces, like where the phone is sitting right there. I don't know if that makes sense, but I basically kind of Frankensteined it together. So now if we looked at that first picture where the room was almost empty, where I'm still painting, you can actually see the two identical pieces. So I kind of customized the furniture in a way. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact, but now it's more symmetrical, and I have more rack space, which is what I care about.
The studio we're looking at right now, was that used for production or on the air or imaging?
That was on the air from 93 up to like 6 months ago.
Oh my goodness. It is just, no cut on the people that worked in there, but I mean, look how junky it gets over time with all the post-it
I'm in trouble
notes
now.
all the post-it notes and all the stuff
that right there is just radio though. I mean, you get a studio that's been there for 30 plus years, it's going to become a collection of different things. Mine's slowly doing the same thing, but yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there.
Looks like they have a Vox Pro in there. Is that what the white? Let's see what's over to the right of the console.
Well, you got the automation screen, and then there's I guess that was a production computer that's inside the turret.
Yeah.
And then above that, there's a delay, and then there's a Connex switcher, and then there's the broadcast tool switcher. Right. And then that is a Vox Pro next to that fun lamp there. So I didn't get the lamp, unfortunately. They kept that. And then there's the shortcut, the 360 next to it.
That's right, the 360 shortcut. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that one actually wasn't making the hard drive scream like they usually do by now. I don't know if they put a new drive in it or not, or if it was solid state. I've seen a few of those get converted to SD card.
Look on the upper left of the console there. There's a Telos control panel for phone lines.
interestingly enough, I have the console version of that now, basically using a couple of blanks.
Okay.
So I got 3 of these consoles, and they were basically identical, but they were all configured a little bit differently. And this one that you're seeing in that picture was the V100. It's the board you're hearing right now, but it was in the best condition cosmetically. So that's why it ended up being, basically the one I ran with. And I kind of mixed and matched modules to get the best cosmetics, get the best on-off buttons that say the right things. And it turned out beautiful. I mean, it's not perfect. It's got, I don't know if you want to call it patina or wear, but she's got some miles on her, but she's doing okay.
Let's set up a few more pictures before we take our next break. What's next, Suncast?
So yeah, that's what it looks like in the studio before I moved the channels around for like the 10th time.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's not like an audio over IP console where you could just go beep boop and then it moves. You don't have to move anything. It just reconfigures. This was old school where, if you wanted a mic channel on your left, and depending on how many modules you wanted, you had to physically unplug them, move them, put them back, move Molex plugs on the bottom of the console. And in that instance, I had the Telos module in the middle of the console, which I liked at first, and then decided I liked it over near where the control room module is.
Yeah,
so it's the board in its current configuration is a little bit different than what you see, but it's about 80% of what you see in that picture.
Okay, what's next? Oh, okay. I was going to ask you about how you cover these. I'm glad I waited to ask. So these are your acoustic panels.
Yeah, it was real simple. I just ripped off the cloth, and it's just like they used like 3M spray adhesive, and they just kind of pinched it in place. They didn't staple it. They didn't do anything crazy. And at this point, that cloth was kind of coming off of the material already. These are huge, like fiberglass sheets, but they're real soft in the middle. And the edges are hard, and they've got that beveled edge to them. And basically, we got orange speaker cloth, which was, I don't remember where my wife found this deal. She's good at finding deals, and we got a ton of this cloth. And basically just used Super 77 3M spray adhesive, let it sit for about 30 seconds, and then she was on one side and I'm on the other, kind of draping the cloth over, and then I just lay it down gently, and then I'll just work, a couple inches at a time and tack it in place. And, within 30 minutes, each of those were done. Didn't take long at all.
So it's the Scotch spray adhesive that's holding the fabric onto the frame and the batting.
Yeah.
And then how are they hung up to the wall?
So in the studio that this gear all came out of, they used like construction adhesive.
Yeah.
And there's still fragments of that on the backs of all these panels. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that yet. These don't weigh anything. They're just fiberglass. But
right.
I'm not sure if I'm going to do that here, or I haven't figured that out yet. I'd be open to discussion on how that would work. You could actually see in this picture, you can see the old cloth on the unit more closer to the window, and it's actually coming off.
Sure. Gotcha. Well, that's a bright, cheery color to certainly wake you up. You can't go sleep with those in the room.
Absolutely.
We at our stations in Hawaii and in Samoa, we have or our managers there have become good at finding very tropical, very joyous tropical print cloth to put on our sound panels. And so the rooms are typically painted in a yellow, not too much different from your yellow, and then the acoustic panels are similar in build to yours, but we find these bright, cheery, like Hawaiian shirts, but stretched over.
That makes sense.
Over the panels,
absolutely makes sense. I like that. I like the vibe that I'm getting so far. I wasn't certain if this real light yellow and this extreme JBL orange would work together, but it seems to work. Okay. We'll see. It'll probably change.
What's next in the hit parade, Suncast? Should we move on with more pictures or what? Okay, another view under construction.
Yeah, that's when I first carried stuff up there and started putting things together, just kind of dry fitting everything. And you can actually, this is a good example of those racks, the angled racks I took from the other studio on the right-hand side.
Is that PR&E furniture or somebody else's?
I really don't know. I need to actually ask and figure out. I think it was custom made. It was really well done, but there's no manufacturing marks on it anywhere. It looks like a Rackus, but it doesn't. It's hard to try to pinpoint who it was that did it. But it's well made. It's exceptionally heavy. I'll say that.
Well, those turrets on the countertop, they look like the Rackus furniture.
They do, and we have some at work, but I've compared them. Again, I should have submitted a picture. And they're not they're off enough that I don't think I've ever seen Rackus turrets that look like these before.
Gotcha.
They're really close though. They're real similar.
Yeah. Okay. What's next? There's the blue. Okay. The oppressive blue.
I mean, it's a beautiful color. It's like it's almost a perfect match for the painter's tape that you can see on the window over there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just felt that it was a departure from the rest of the house, and it just made the room feel small. And like it was a 50-50 average of who I asked whether they wanted me to keep it or wanted me to change it. And I just decided to change it. If I want to put it back, I guess I will. But
I think we got a couple more pictures I want to get to before we take our next break. So what's next, Sun? Oh, yeah. Okay. Now here we have some panels entering the picture.
Yep. I was carrying them in just to kind of hear what the effects of the room, how they would change. I'd walk in and I would clap. And, before those panels were in place, you'd clap and it'd be 27 minutes before the reverb stops. So it was horrible.
It's like the office that I'm in now. The office I'm in now, probably about the same size as that room. And before the carpet got in and before my panels on the wall got in, this was just as lively as could be. But the carpet knocked it down about 50%, and then the panels knocked it down, another 90%.
Yeah, that's the difference between your studio and mine is that I don't have carpet. We have hardwood floors that we paid a fair amount of money for a professional to come in and do right. We could do it. We ripped all the carpet out. But man, I don't ever want to do that again. Of course, you don't want to move and ever want to rip carpet out again. That's the worst
we did that here at this house, and it was something. We're not sure what diseases and bacterium we pulled out along with the carpet. It was bad.
That's the sickest I've been. After that.
Now, in a room like that, of course, you could make good use of rugs. If you wanted to, and not destroy your beautiful hardwood floors, you can put a rug here and there, and take care of that. We got one more picture of one piece of equipment that's rack mounted. I think Suncast can bring that one up before we get to there we go. I've seen these. What am I looking at here?
That is a stereo mixer, and it basically take one of these radio mixers and cram it into a rack mount, shape. This is designed by the same guy, Michael Dosh, and in fact, it's a lot of the same components and circuitry design is in this console. It's just a single bus. There's no audition, there is a program, but that's it. But I'm using this at the radio station at my desk when I audition music or whatever, or if I want to check levels of something. It's just kind of fun to have that, accurate pair of meters there to reference to.
Yeah.
And I like consoles. If I can squeeze a console into every corner of the office, I probably would and have at one point. There's a picture somewhere on my Facebook account where I had an office at Michael Patton's shop, and it was just flooded with consoles, but none of them were hooked up. This one's functional. It's got one mic channel, the red knob there, and then the module to its right is actually a little voice processor. And the 3 channels are the 3 outputs from my Rivendell system. And then the one that's on currently was my Cool Edit computer. And then a telephone channel, which doesn't have anything hooked into it yet. But that's also really what I use to test processing.
Okay. And obviously there's an Orban 6300 just above there.
Yep. Yeah. That's probably what I'll end up using if I do a stream.
I'm so glad to see that the Post-it note where you have reminded yourself that you're doing the TWiRT show on October 16th.
Look, I'm as ADHD as it comes. I'm not saying I'm going to forget, but I put that there just in case.
Sure. A little belt and suspenders. Make sure you show up. Thank you. Hey, Jordan, this is a delight. We have now coming up next. We've looked at kind of the different stages in the finished product, but Jordan has got some story to tell about how he goes about doing triage and deciding what modules he's going to use and what he's going to fix and rebuild in those modules, and maybe what's going to get replaced even without testing the module. No, we're going to replace these things, period. Then we're going to start testing. That's coming up. That's coming up next with Jordan Tuck from Charleston, West Virginia. Hey, one of our sponsors is Broadcast Bionics. Love these guys, really do. They do such great things for radio. And one of the things they do, the big concept is Bionic Studio. And you don't have to get all the stuff to start making your studio bionic. You can do it a piece at a time, or just the functionalities that your studio that's important to you and for producing your shows. And they'll say this in the ad, but I want to reiterate it right now. And that is that you keep doing radio the way you're doing it, but different systems from Broadcast Bionics will surface, that is, bring to light information that you need to have right then, right there, and make it easy to capture the best moments of your broadcast and put them on social media and share with others. Let's let Broadcast Bionics explain that right now.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS, and email together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter, and display all platforms in one place, and post text, images, and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads, and prizes. These can be on-air contests, automated SMS entry, or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
Oh, the Bionic Studio, another amazing group of features and software from Broadcast Bionics. Thanks a lot to Dan McQuillan and his team at Bionics for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Good people to know. Jordan Tuck is also a good person to know. He's talking about reincarnating this. Mostly, it's going to be about this audio console. So, Jordan, we've got a bunch of pictures, and it's going to be very educational to see what you see and what you evaluate. So, I guess we ought to start with the first picture, and you tell us what we're looking at. Oh my goodness, what is that? It's from PR&E.
So that's an output module. That's used all throughout this console: a headphone output driver, cue speaker driver, or a program output. In fact, I've got. Let me turn around here for a second. I've got one of those modules, and there's a whole slew of them.
Oh, there are, yeah.
I'm sure this webcam isn't going to be doing it too much justice.
No,
this is a used module that I haven't.
It's good. It's good. Okay, so why are there all these in that module? What is that module?
So you've got like program 1, left and right, and so on and so forth, and it's repeated. So like Program and Audition might have more than one output, and so each little module, which is replaceable, creates your audio output basically.
Okay.
Little op amp driver and then your output transistors, which is pretty cool. Pretty brute force. Most consoles these days, at least on their analog outputs, will just rely on a single op amp to make that happen. But this uses transistors like a lot of old consoles, like Auditronics is known for that too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what that's from. That was actually off this module.
So that module slips into the top of the console just like a fader module would?
Yeah, plugs right in. It exists right here. I don't know why I was looking down here. It's just right here, out of shot. But
okay.
If we pull up that's a really dusty pair of those. That's on a line input module. So that's the input amplifiers.
So I never got to use RadioMixer or PR&E consoles. The stations that I worked at in my first part of my career were couldn't afford PR&E consoles. We had a lot of cheaper consoles. So in the consoles I worked on, typically, the output modules were under the meter bridge. They weren't part of the desktop part, next to the fader modules. But you're saying that that's where these are in the PR&E radio mixer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is all your output amps in one location, at least for your line outputs.
Okay.
And you got a couple mono outputs, a mix minus, and so on and so forth that exist on the telco module. But that's just repeated over and over again, basically.
Oh, okay. Now I've seen that. Okay, Suncast is showing that.
Kind of see how it works.
Yeah, now it makes sense where you've got your volume, your outputs there. Okay. Okay. I got a question that maybe you know, maybe you don't. Why are some of those electrolytic capacitors surrounded by a partial metal can, like a metal cylinder?
As far as I know, that's going to be noise rejection, more than likely. You can see on this output module. Let me see if I can get this kind of shooting in the dark here.
On
these audio coupling caps are shielded.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm missing some op amps from this module. I've stolen some, but then the input modules are much the same.
Yeah, I saw that surrounding two caps on the input side. There's a shield surrounding two caps. Now
makes replacing them interesting.
Mike Dosh and the other engineers at PR&E, they're not going to do something unless there's a benefit to it. And there's a reason why they said, you know what, this would really benefit if we shielded these capacitors. I just never heard of that. And I've never seen it before. I haven't seen every piece of equipment on the planet either, but that's pretty interesting. Next time I see Mr. Dosh, maybe in the next few days here, I'm going to ask him about that. What are we accomplishing with that shield?
Yeah, I would love to hear his take on that. I think PR&E is probably the only console that I've seen that's been done so thoroughly. But, again, my hand-eye coordination is off a little, but those little shields wrap around the electrolytics. Those come out, they're soldered in.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to change them. It's just one more step. But I thought that was kind of cute how they did that.
What's next on our photo hit parade? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. So like I said, I had 3 of these consoles, and I actually parted out 2, because one was in fairly decent shape. That was V100, and then there was 96.1, which was a country station. That was, almost every single module didn't have paint on it anymore. Like this output module is just worn where hands have touched it for years.
Yeah.
And then like the control room module is a great example. I got one right here. In fact, this was out of the one from WCHS, which is a talk station. And you could just see where decades of turning that knob, you could see the paint worn off. And this one's like that too, but it's far less severe. But yeah, this module here is another parts unit. It's had a lot of modifications done to it. I should ask the previous engineering staff what they were doing. But you could see little custom bodge wires and stuff. Let me see if I can point them out. There's one right here. They've lifted some of these ferrite beads, and they've moved some stuff around. So I didn't use this module.
Interesting. On the first module, the output module that has a whole lot of those little amps, do those get pretty warm, or is the heat managed pretty well?
I mean, this one here, I mean, it produces some heat. It's a hotter module than any of the others, but it's not absolutely like concerning. The consoles we have at work, which are AudioArt's D75s, I think, the output modules on those produce copious amounts of heat, and it worries me, but I've never had problems with those output modules. These don't make a ton of heat. You know, the little output transistors and stuff don't have any heat sinks or anything on them. They're just brute force.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Talk to me about the electrolytic capacitors on those, because I promised our audience, and I want to know too. Tell me when you get these modules that are, who knows how old, who knows if they've been, you know, if they're on the shelf because they quit working or they're a spare or whatever, what kind of describe your triage process? What do you know you're going to do, and what are you going to find out that you need to do?
So that varies a little bit case by case, but most of the time I will do like a baseline test. Like, you know, if I put a given signal into a particular input, does it produce results? Does it give me an output of a certain level that I'm expecting? You know, left and right balance, frequency response, distortion, noise floor. And then I get like, you know, I write down what works, what doesn't work, what could be improved on. And then I'll take like a console like this that's modular, I will take all the individual channel strips apart and I'll recap them, you know, at a time. Like I'll do all the mic channels, then I'll do all the line channels, then I'll compare them to each other and align them to all match. But as far as capacitors go, I mean, that's you know, replace them on site if they're this old. I mean, this is early 90s stuff. You know, there might be a few in there that are still low ESR, you know, well within tolerance. But if I'm in here spending moments of my life that I'll probably never get back, I don't want to be in here more than I need to be. So, you know, I replace capacitors, then ask questions later. But of course, if there's a problem, I will troubleshoot that first, get it to function. Unless it's like this console that every single one of those caps in those shields were basically open. So when I first got this board, just to talk about caps a little bit more, every input trim, so like a line channel, I'll pick it up real quick and I'm going to show it to y'all. Right here, where the fader is, you can see left and right gain trim. Almost every single line channel had those turned up to where you would hear them click. They're like 20 turn precision
so they were
potentiometers
all the way up,
and they were all completely topped out. And then on the output module, at least on this V100 console, the output trims were the same way, and the VU meter gains were the same exact way too.
Oh wow!
And I still couldn't get any audio out of it. I mean, it would play, but it was tinny. It didn't sound very good. It had no bass. And it just like the meters would just barely twitch, just a little bit. And it's because every single coupling stage was basically bad. And the ones that go bad on these the most are the ones that are the little tiny, you know, 10 microfarad coupling caps. Those are the ones where the audio passes through. The larger yellow ones here, the power supply decoupling, those generally don't cause many problems. On this output module right here, you can see there's a whole slew of capacitors on every single output driver module. And then right here, you can see, you know, the two VU meter drivers and the little red LEDs, which in my understanding act like limiters, so you can't blow away the meters if you run it into the red. The louder you run these consoles, the more those lights will illuminate, which I think is cool. Every PR&E I've ever seen seems to have a soft limiter on the VU meters, because these boards have gobs of headroom, typically, if they're wired correctly.
So that limiter is not an audio limiter for the audio, it's a limiter for the voltage going to the VU meter.
Yes. So you don't blow away the meter and, you know, bend the needle or
expensive meters there.
I mean, you can run this console into the red intentionally, and you're never going to hear the meters make the tinking noise.
Okay.
They always come to a real soft landing at the end. It's real gentle. And I would attribute that to the smart designers at Pacific Recorders to build such a nice meter driver circuit. I'm impressed with that.
I'm guessing that you replace all the electrolytics because it would take you, let's imagine that half of them were bad, but you had to figure out which half. And it would take you more time to troubleshoot justifying the ones that are bad than it would just to shotgun all of them while you got your soldering iron hot and your solder sucker and all that, and to replace them. That it's not time wasted, it's not money wasted to just shotgun all the capacitors, right?
If something is this old, it's almost easier to just go through and bulk replace all of them. You get a better deal on Mouser and DigiKey when you order hundreds and hundreds of capacitors in these gigantic bags, and it's, if I was to only partially recap it, then I'd be chasing my tail trying to get the alignment to work correctly if there was a level of deficiency somewhere. Like let's say program left is stouter than the right. I have enough OCD that I don't want the gain trim potentiometers being largely different from each other. So if I recap it, almost always. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it almost always will perk right up. And this was a night and day difference. I've recapped every console that I've had. And this one was the biggest transformation as far as performance before and after. And it makes the alignment procedure much easier. Because you got a lot more gain through the console, and it stops sounding tinny after you replace the caps. Absolutely. Gobs and gobs of low end now.
I should explain. We sometimes we have younger engineers and maybe engineers who haven't dealt so much with electrolytic caps and analog circuitry, but electrolytic caps are very routinely used between different stages of amplifier circuits to allow audio to pass through, but not allow the power supply voltage to pass through. Maybe these two different stages use different power supplies, maybe a lot of different reasons, but capacitors will couple the audio through and stop the DC. The problem is, as the capacitor ages, it literally dries out because there's an electrolytic paste inside, and they'll dry out and they'll decrease a lot in their value. And then, so instead of being a 10 microfarad capacitor, it might be a 0.5 microfarad capacitor. And so the base, anything closer to DC won't pass through it. Well, base frequencies are closer to DC than 10 kilohertz is. So higher frequencies pass right on through and not be affected that much, but lower frequencies won't. And that's why fresh, proper value capacitors are important to have in audio circuitry where they've used electrolytics. Now, my follow-up question is, do you ever replace electrolytic capacitors with a different formulation or a different style of capacitor?
Not often. There was a few situations where on different makes of PR&E boards, like an AMX or an ABX that has an absolute ton of tantalum capacitors, which is just a different formulation. And it's its own discussion. It's a whole episode on caps really should happen. But a lot of times when you shut down these consoles after they've been on for 30 years and you take it to the shop, you turn it back on, as soon as you hit power, you just hear, because all those caps are, shorting dead to ground. And of course, these consoles have huge power supplies. That's, again, I should have sent a picture of this power supply. It's got headroom and current for days. And the power supply will win every time, and it will unalive that capacitor. And a lot of times when I would recap those modules on the larger frame boards, which have a ton of they have a lot of electrolytics, but they have a ton of tantalums as well. And I just would normally replace those with standard electrolytics because they're a little bit more tame when they fail. Electrolytics kind of just slowly die, where tantalums will be perfect, and then all of a sudden they just auto bypass. They just hard short. And it's almost always what happens on one of these modules when a tantalum capacitor will short. These two resistors right here, I don't know, let me see, let me get this in the right position.
Yeah.
Resistors on these these standoffs here, those will expire violently. Almost always.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, they're held away from the boards when they do catch on fire.
Exactly. I think they were thinking ahead there for sure. But, the power supply rails go through those resistors, and they do act as fuses. So the whole thing, the whole console doesn't go down. Just that one module will quit working.
Right.
Now, you'd be in trouble if this control room module was to fail. You would have no headphones. You'd have no speakers, but, it'd be on the air.
You alluded to it earlier, but a lot of those capacitors are used in the audio circuitry. The audio goes through a capacitor on its way to the next stage. And then other electrolytic capacitors are used as filtering for a power supply, and they will help make sure that the audio circuit that they're close to physically and electrically is being fed with clean DC power and not power that's been wobbled around by the power needs of other circuits around it.
Exactly.
So your power supply is filtered, but then you need to filter what's,
there's local circuitry that will be riding on top of that DC. So it kind of evens that out for the most basic, simplistic, explanation of that.
And those won't have an immediate effect on frequency response, but they could have an effect on distortion or other products that would occur if your power supply was a little wobbly for an amplifier that needed power and can't quite get the power it's asking for at that instant because the capacitor is failing. So
yes, you explained it better than I could have.
Jordan, we got to take a quick break. We're talking to Jordan Tuck. I'm getting educated here. I love it. And we got a few more pictures to show and more stories to tell with Jordan Tuck and Adventures in Reincarnation. I'm Kirk Harnack here on This Week in Radio Tech. And our show's brought to you in part, by Angry Audio. And speaking of the guy, the same person who designed the RadioMixer console and the other one that there's a RadioMixer. What was the other one, Jordan?
He did a few of them. There's the ProductionMixer, and then the little rack mount one was the StereoMixer.
StereoMixer, that's it. That's Mike Dosh. And Mike Dosh, I had the extreme pleasure of working under Mike Dosh when he was CEO at Telos. And now he has his own company called Angry Audio. And it's actually just down the road from where I am. And Angry Audio makes an enormous number of products that we need in broadcast studios. They have the whole Studio Hub line of easy connections for your audio using Cat5 cables. They also make a number of things like headphone amplifiers, all kinds of things to light circuitry lights in your studio. But one thing that Mike is very proud of, because it's his passion, is the Rave audio console. And the Rave console is, it carries on this tradition of what Mike did at PR&E. It's an analog console. It's not digital. It's not audio over IP. It's an analog console. It's the Rave RadioMixer. I wonder where that name came from. And this is 8 channels. So it's eight faders there, plus 2 faders for the control room speakers and the control room headphones. It can also feed audio to a separate studio for studio monitoring. It has mix minus for a phone line and for a phone hybrid and for a separate codec. You got a couple different mix minuses available there. It has 4 mic preamps that are built into it. Those are on XLR connectors. But if you want to use just 2 of the mic pre's and the other faders, use them for line level stuff, just like you're using the other 4, you can do that as well. There's a shot of the back of it right there with line in and mic in inputs there. Then the outputs are, of course, on the Studio Hub connectors. Easy to wire, easy peasy to wire. And the quality of this thing, this little dude is heavy. It feels good. It's going to last for years and years and years in your studio. And those VU meters, you can see them from across the room. Really well designed. The Rave audio console from Angry Audio. Their website, you can look at the pictures of it, see that video, read what the features are of it. It's angryaudio.com. Angryaudio.com. Thank you, Angry Audio, Mike Dosh, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Our show is also brought to you by Max Connect. And Max Connect Wireless is their product we're talking about today. That's what they started out with, is Max Connect Wireless. They do a lot of other things now, including contract engineering work. They do special projects if you need a transmitter installed. Let's imagine you have a transmitter site and your remote control just really kind of sucks. Well, they'll come in there and design a remote control system that works, that's automatic, that keeps track and lets you know when you're off the air, that kind of thing, quite easily. But Max Connect Wireless, this has been so popular, and I keep hearing from engineers who depend on Max Connect Wireless. Oh, look, there's Kirk Harnack on the screen talking about it. Max Connect Wireless uses a special service from the different phone carriers, a service that Josh Bone is making available to broadcasters. And that service is prioritized data. If you're in a crowded situation, if your nearest cell tower is up to capacity, well, the special channels that the Josh Bone has arranged for you is those are available, and you will typically get full bit rate out of those when you can't get a full bit rate from the other channels that the regular people are using. They also have new LTE modems with lots of features like the one that's on your screen now. You can have backup internet. It could be anything. It could be satellite, and they'll be glad to arrange for the satellite service for you for uplink, downlink. You can provide your own third service, like a Starlink, or you could provide just if you had wired DSL, but it was slow, you could use that either as a main or a backup. So there's lots of different ways to use Max Connect. So if you've got a site that you really need to be connected to all the time, like a transmitter site, or if you want to go out and do remote broadcasts from football fields, high school games, arenas, car dealers, wherever you're doing your remote broadcast, Max Connect will get you connected. I have used them myself on this show with great service. Max Connect, it's maxconnect.com. Yeah, I know it's spelled funny. There's a link in the show notes as to if you want to click on it. Appreciate Josh Bone and your innovative work in the broadcasting world. Josh, thanks very much. Okay, we're talking to Jordan Tuck, and we've got a few minutes. Jordan, we got a few more pictures. We ought to get to these before we got to take our last break and end the show. So let's see what we got. Oh, that looks clean. What is that?
That was one of my spare modules. I think that's the one I brought from the shop. Yes. Okay. This is the same one. Now, this is not a module I've been through. It's just one of the 327 spare modules I've got. And it was I just was like, hey, maybe I should send a picture of a module. But I didn't send a picture of the power supply or anything else. I really, thinking about it, I should have took more pictures. I know we got a ton of pictures, but I really wanted to send a picture of what the inside of this power supply looks like. I mean, gigantic capacitors, huge toroidal transformer, brute force. I mean, it's bigger than most public address amplifiers. It's a lot to lift. It's down here, you can't see it, but
I can't see. Yeah, I've seen them before. I've never gotten to install
that power
PR&E
supply
console, but I've seen a few,
weighs probably more than most modern day consoles do entirely.
Exactly. Well, it's
like
not
the
a switch
Rave
mode power
console's got
supply.
it all built in.
Yeah. Well, the one you've got there is a linear power supply. It's what some people call it's a real power supply.
Real man's power supply. When you turn it on, the UPS complains.
Oh, yeah. Well,
because I got everything on here on a UPS.
It's like hooking a vacuum cleaner to the UPS, at least for startup. Charge those capacitors. Speaking of, let's look at another picture. There we go. More of those shields around the electrolytics, but just a little more close up of that output module. All right. What's next here? Let's take a look at the next one. And then there's on the input side.
Input module.
Those capacitors. Okay. Interesting. And there's our another look at all those spare modules. I think that's the last picture we have. Is that one?
Yeah, I think so.
We okay. So we talked a little bit about triage. That you typically will test. What's your procedure for testing a module? You got your console's open, set up. You got a slot. You can go ahead and put stuff in and try it out, right?
Yeah. So like what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll check the power supply and make sure it's happy. Start at the very basics and make sure I've got clean DC, and I've got a good backplane that I can plug modules in, good meters, very basic frame, almost completely empty. And then I will get, typically on these boards, I'll get the output module recapped, and then I will recap and rebuild and align a single line input so that I can put in a test signal on the patch point so I can determine the gain on the mix bus so I can align the output section. Then I can align the input amps to suit. So, everything's unity gain. Because there's variables at the, the input potentiometers for the channel strip. There's variability on the mix bus, and of course the output amps have adjustments on it too. So if someone's taken the golden greeny screwdriver to it like this one, because the capacitors are half dead and you got to do whatever you can to get it by, it's important to get a module that works, and start with the alignment procedure, which was in this nice thick manual right here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a read right there.
That's
it's full of schematics. It's really well written. It's in chapters. It's fantastic. But it explains the alignment procedure, which basically, like I said, you just put a known like 1 kilohertz tone at like negative 10 dBu in at the patch point. Then you adjust your output amplifiers to give you, +4 or +8 dBu if you like. It just depends on your operating level. I'm +4 here. I don't know of anyone who still runs +8 anymore unless they're running like an old LPB or an old Autogram. There is one station here that still runs an LPB from, I think it's a first generation, and they're, +8. But, once I'm able to get the input levels correct, get the bus levels correct, and then, of course, output levels adjusted, then I know noise floor is optimized. The performance of the console should be, correct. Then I can go and really, like, speedily, very quickly do the rest of the modules because I know the output amps and the meters and everything is calibrated, if that makes sense.
It's worthwhile to point out that the reason that you inject some tone at the patch point instead of just injecting it on the input of the module and then setting the output is because then you have two different adjustable places and you don't know where they are.
You don't know where they are.
From the patch point. Yeah, from the patch point, there's only one adjustment after that for audio level, and that's the master outputs. And so you want to give the patch point its specified level that, hey, if you put in this -10 or whatever it is level there, and then you adjust the output for like +4, then it'll be right. Then you can, once that gain is set, then you can go backward to the input level and set that gain. And then, things are sitting where they should be with regard to, peak level with enough headroom and then above the noise. Otherwise, you could be running way too low in the input and way too high on the output and have noise build up, in the front part of the module, or the other way around. You could, have way too much coming in and then, and have the outputs turned way down. So you're doing it right. I'm glad there's that patch point.
Yeah, me too. For sure.
Okay. You've mentioned it on a previous show, but I'm curious, what do you do for those meter light bulbs? Do you have LEDs or do you put bulbs back in?
And that was a good opportunity for a picture, wasn't it? So what I've done, and I don't know where I got this idea from. I don't know if I completely created it or I saw it somewhere and just took the idea. I've done it for so many years now that I've actually forgotten where I've gotten the idea from. But basically, I'll go to like a place like Batteries and Bulbs or whatever that we have one here in town, and they have these wicked looking LED replacement like tail lamps, and they're not red. They're just like, you can either specify a cool white or like a warm white, and I will actually take those apart, and they have these LED chips, these little circuit boards. They're discrete circuit boards, kind of in the same form factor as this output module. It's a bunch of the same thing all clustered together, and I'll take those apart, and then I will either glue or mount them in place just above the meter movement. So like on this particular meter here, you can see it was originally fitted for 3 incandescent lamps. And what I'll do is this bracket will go away, and then at least on the RadioMixer, I will epoxy the LED chip that I took out of that bulb, the automotive bulb that has all these little repeated segments, and then, it'll just shine through the lens here, which gives it a pretty good look. I don't know how well this is going to translate on the noisy looking
on that video, you
camera.
said, I thought that it looked pretty good on the video.
It does pretty good. And, I can add different filters for different color temperature lights or whatever. At first, when I did this, I put capped on transformer tape over the LEDs just as an experiment to see how gross it would look. And it looked really cool. It was more like a yellow, kind of like these off buttons. And I left it like that for a while. And then I just reverted back to just ripping the tape off the LED module. And then now it's just the correct warm white. This is a little bit brighter and a little bit more intense than the incandescent bulb would have originally looked. That's my signature. I like bright meters. I want you to be able to have, in no uncertain terms, where your levels are.
Yeah, you see them.
I like meters, so I want them to look good.
Jordan, we got one more sponsor to
LED modules.
I'm sorry, we got one more sponsor to mention, and we got to have just a minute when we come back for a tip of the week from you. And yeah, I'm sorry, you always forget to mention. Oh yeah, guest, I need a tip of the week. I either have a question, maybe you can answer the question about those the buttons that are on each module, and if those are mechanically sound, or if you have to replace those, or do something with them, or if you've got a separate tip of the week. But stand by, I'll call on you in 2 minutes. Because right now we're going to talk about Henry Engineering and a product that I literally love. I have bought now a total of 6 of these things. It's the back UPS from Henry Engineering. And what is the back UPS? Well, there's a picture of it right there. It's a power controller for ensuring reliable AC power to critical equipment that's powered with a UPS. Now, back UPS constantly monitors the output of the UPS, and it automatically bypasses the UPS if its output fails or becomes unstable. Now, the back UPS has 2 AC inputs, one for line, or you might call it shore power, just the regular non-UPS, commercial power, and it's got a UPS input. So line is plugged directly to your local AC socket. UPS obviously is plugged into the back of your UPS. If the back UPS senses that there's any interruption in the UPS output, well, it switches to the line, bypassing the UPS entirely. And this keeps the load powered up. I mean, really fast. Your computers will, I've never had one reboot. I don't know if that's a guarantee or not, but man, I've never had a problem during the switchover period. And this allows the UPS to be disconnected for servicing, for battery replacement or other kind of maintenance that needs to be done. And the back UPS includes a delay timer that ensures that the UPS output is stable before the UPS is switched back online. So whenever the UPS output comes on, the system monitors its output for a preset period of time, and the UPS will be switched online only if the UPS output is stable. I have had several UPS failures, and you probably have too. And yet the AC line is right there. And sure, it'd be great if UPSs were reliable in switching over to AC power if they weren't working on their throughput, but man, sometimes they don't. And so the Henry back UPS does a great job, especially with equipment, and it's meant for equipment that only has one power supply. So I've got some Ethernet switches, our Sage box, and other gear that has one power supply. And so that one power supply gets plugged into a power strip in the rack, and that power strip is then powered by the back UPS, which will automatically switch very quickly to the commercial power if the UPS dies. Love this thing. Get it from Broadcasters General Store at bgs.cc. bgs.cc. You can call them. Make sure it's in your Rolodex at 352-622-7700. They will make you the best deal on Henry Engineering back UPS or anything else from Henry Engineering. Thanks so much, Henry, and Broadcaster General Store, bgs.cc, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, Jordan, we've literally got a minute and a half, maybe 2. Talk to me about either question I asked. We have the button. Either talk about the buttons or a tip of the week.
Buttons?
Yeah.
I could probably talk more about the buttons. At least with these, I've only ever seen them fail when they're consistently slammed, and I've actually seen the plastic housing crack. But again, it's all about having spare parts, and these right here. Get in touch with people who have parts stock, and there's some spare buttons in this. This is literally everything in this console, except maybe like a meter or a Q speaker or a fader. But
are those buttons
spare parts?
Are they called shadow buttons?
Shadow switches, I think.
Shadow switches, yeah.
I actually don't remember.
Okay.
I think that's who makes these. Hang on.
But you haven't had to, because you haven't had the failures, except for a couple that were obviously abused.
Yeah. I mean, I just pull the lenses and clean all the schmoo out of them, and then, put a new bulb in there. This one doesn't have a bulb, but...
Actually, I'm sorry. I was speaking of the other buttons at the other end of the fader.
Oh, these. Yeah, there's several spares of these. These do fail, and almost always what happens to these is they'll get dirty because the audio does go through these, and once you start spraying them with contact cleaner, that's when the lubrication goes away and they start to stick or they won't latch. And you're kind of off in, lost ball and high weeds at that point. You just got to replace the switch at this point.
Lost ball and high weeds. I love it.
Yeah. My thing is with a console like this, if I know I have a show coming up, I will go through and click every switch and make sure it does its thing. I know that sounds like I'm paranoid, but it, like with vintage switches like this, don't let it sit for 20 years and never touch it, because the first moment you bump it, it's gonna, not do its thing correctly. And I press all these buttons all the time, and they're crystal clean. They're clear. So exercise your switches, exercise your faders, and the contacts are self-cleaning. They just, when they sit for forever, then they get intermittent. So.
Okay.
I think these are shadow switches, but Mike Dosh is going to have to let us know.
I thought that was a brand name for those. Hey, we got to go. It is time to go. Jordan, man, it's a pleasure to have you on. I mean that. Want to have you back again next time you've reached a big milestone on a project. Please let us know. And,
for sure.
We'd be delighted to have you back on. So thanks so much. I'll say adieu to you. Oh, wait, don't hang up, because we got to take a picture of you. Hang on. Suncast, thank you so much for producing today's show. Always great to have you at the controls. I really appreciate it. I'm Kirk Harnack. Hey, next week, another returning guest is coming back on, Randy Gardner with JVC Broadcasting. He's got a pile of projects that he's been working on and has some stories to tell. So that'll be next week. Randy Gardner joins us. And that's it for us. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.